As part of our meditation this evening, and in honor of Dr. and Mrs. Sharma, who are gracing us with their presence once again, these words from the great poet of India, Kabir. I have stilled my restless mind, and my heart is radiant. For in thatness I have seen beyond thatness. Living in bondage, I have set myself free. I have broken away from the clutch of all narrowness. Kabir says, I have attained the unattainable, and my heart, oh my heart, is colored with the color of love. According to our great Vedantic teachings, there is nothing to attain. Each has to understand, each of us, I am that I am. Our true reality is revealed to us, not attained by us. Living in bondage, we can set ourselves free. Feel this directly through meditation. Okay, I'm sorry for prayers for Amy's father as well as mother, wherever Amy's father is. His soul should have received those blessings, because those blessings for the father kept coming. But it's Amy's mother, whose name is Dallas, who's not well, and I had Amelia's father on my mind. So seems a lot of mothers and fathers are reaching an age where we have to look after their health, which means that we're getting older, if our parents are getting older and in need of our prayers. And then one day our children will be praying for us. So it goes on like that. And it's part of life, and we do it every lifetime. And it's good for us to have that feeling for those who, thank you, Mark, who took care of us and blessed us. The way to do it, since there are so many mothers on our list and a few fathers, according to Gurji, if you're concerned about someone you love, you meditate with no thought of that person at all. You just do it as a witnessing process. And then when you feel that the airways are cleared and you don't have anything in the way, your own thoughts, your own worries, your own anxieties, but you feel as though you've released them to the universe, then you should place in your mind's eye, this chakra, Sahasraram, an image of that person. And if that individual is at all open to receiving healing vibrations, we have discovered from reports of people for whom we included in the prayer, that something definitely was experienced. Even if their body didn't experience any improvement, they didn't care at that moment. And if we don't care, it means there's no stress surrounding the body. And the body has its own amazing healing capacity. So that's the way we were taught, not to, through language, make, Guruji said, don't do business with God. If you cure my cousin, I will meditate 3 times a day instead of 2 times a day. Guruji said, don't do that. Guruji is too much ahead of that. He said, God is too much ahead of us. It knows our trickiness, and we don't keep those promises anyway. So he said, just be in touch with your loved one through your love, through your compassion, and that does work wonders. So, as I've been doing lately, I've been reading excerpts from Guruji's papers and teachings and going into them in greater depth than we would if we had a complete essay read. There's just too much to go into everything. But this is from his essay entitled The Universe of Being and Becoming. Today, I always find my introduction to these readings right in the day's conversations or activities. And someone said to me, I spoke to many people today, but someone said to me, if we're not the body and we're not the mind, and we are something beyond the body and mind, why do we bother so much about that level of body and mind? How much time is taken up worrying about something that we shouldn't care about? And with tears in the person's eyes, the person said, what's the point? And I said, come tonight, because Guruji will touch upon that. And those tears were coming from frustration, because we try so hard. We struggle so hard to come out of the bondage of the body, mind, and senses. And we're told to do that. We're told to inquire into the problems that we have, why they're there, trace them to the source, as you will hear. But if it's just a question of waking up, if it's just the question of waking up, then why this struggle? Apparently, we're not awake to know why. We're still asleep. Because if we were awake, it would be, as Guruji said in another paper, on the plane of the mind, on the relative plane, there are only questions, but no answers. But in the state of meditation, there are only answers, no questions. So if we're crying and we're struggling and we're frustrated, it tells us one thing. What? We're still, I told you 2 minutes ago, asleep. And the answer can only be there when we're fully awake. If we're sleeping, we're having the same old, tired, dusty dream that we're still this. We're still this body-mind entity. That's our problem. Kabir said so beautifully, living in bondage, living in bondage. I set myself free, which means we can't rely, as Gurdjieff said, on someone else's resurrection. We need our own resurrection. We need our own, in Gurdjieff's words, return from the grave. And by the way, if we have that understanding that resurrection means the resurrection of the absolute I am, that has to come back into existence. The sense of absolute I am. If we're convinced that it's only the body, mind, and senses that die from lifetime to lifetime, but the soul transmigrates. If we say nothing and we're in the company of someone who's gravely ill, on the verge of leaving his or her body, that gets transmitted to that person. Just your conviction, just your quiet calmness in the face of what usually terrifies people. That's the idea of separation or loss or extinction. If we know there's no such thing as the extinction of the soul, that's very catching. I've seen it myself. People who are gravely ill say, "You seem so happy." I said, "Well, nothing's changed. We always talk soul to soul, not body to body, mind to mind. We're still talking soul to soul. The body's in trouble. It will feel better the more we leave it alone." That's how I talk when I'm in the presence of someone elderly who's worried about death. And that's how he told us to talk. That's how he told us to be. Instead of being in commiseration with someone else's lack of understanding. We should be there. We should have empathy and sympathy, but we should be very clear that we do not lose the soul when the body is gone. Someone, I think I told you, had to put her pet to sleep so that the soul could leave the body. And she cried on the telephone, said, "I had to put my pet down." And I said, "That's a very bad way to express it. Why don't you say you had to lift your pup up instead your dog down?" We're not doing anything to pull the dog down. A dog needs to release its body if it's ill and aging. What could be more cruel than insisting that you're supposed to take care of the animal? And I said, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up, get another puppy. Your dog's looking for a home. It's hovering around you, doesn't know where to go." I don't know if I told everyone this story, but I love the story. She immediately went to look at puppies, and there were about 12 in the middle of the room, and one broke away from the group and jumped up and put its little paws around her neck. And she told me the story. I said, "Hurry up, go get him. That's the one. That's the one. The soul of your last pet jumped into that little puppy, and he's just glad to see you. He doesn't know why you left him there." So she ran and got him, and he's adorable. He's on Facebook if you want to see. This is Erica's little puppy, and Erica's Sanskrit name is Divya Shakti. She's a yoga teacher, and he's the cutest little puppy and loves her already. And interesting, there's a photograph of her other dog, which is a big dog. This is a little tiny puppy. And the big dog is called Mimi. And as soon as they met, it was nose-to-nose contact. You know, they say eyeball to eyeball. It was nose to nose. They love each other. They know, they recognize their old friends. So, and they're constantly now with each other. And she's going to name the little one, the puppy, after the dog she lost. It's the same dog, same soul. Not the same dog, but the same soul. If we only understood that, how happy we could be. to know that any soul to which we're attached has to come magnetically back to us. This is not my wisdom, not my understanding. It's the wisdom of all the Vedantists, all the great gurus. And that conviction is very convincing for us. That's why I sound so sure of myself. Do I know from firsthand experience? I've got a few signs here and there. You know, you meet a stranger and you feel immediately familiar, connected, or not. You feel aversion because it's the soul, it's the frequency of the person that you're recalling. This is terrible. I'm very talkative tonight, and there's not much time. So I have to use discipline. I'm going to discipline myself, see how long that works. These are Guruji's words. The universe of being and becoming. Being and becoming are the two movements of the body and mind. These two movements of the body and mind are just like coming and going somewhere. Like you, Antonella. You came and soon you'll be going back. These are the comings and the goings of the body and the mind. Your body and mind cannot stop coming and going, being and becoming. The moment you become this, I like it when there are sound effects. The moment you become this, that very same moment you want to become that. Otherwise, you don't feel happy. The moment you come here, that very moment you want to go there. That is to say, somewhere else. If not physically, then at least spiritually, then mentally. You want to be in a higher state. You want to feel something other than what you are feeling. And that was the problem with my friend this afternoon, who was crying about, I've been struggling so many years, fighting against this ego, and now you're telling me that's not the way to overcome the ego, you have to transcend it. So what's the point of all this sincere striving? And she was feeling let down by nature and by the gurus. It's everyone's feeling from time to time, especially when things seem so unfair, unjust, when tragedy strikes, or calamity, or incident after incident goes badly for someone who's so good. We all cry when that happens. But it's because we don't know nature's planning. We don't know the reason for that calamity, for that seemingly life where curse after curse is happening. That may be happening because that person is chosen to have all those karmas escalated so that the enlightenment, the awakening can come sooner. And Guruji loved to tell us, if we're having a lovely dream, we have no desire to wake up. But if we're having a terrible dream, where everybody's dying, and we're dying, and tragedies are happening, we can't wait to get up. Well, the same thing happens in life. If our life is too easy, if my life is going too smoothly, that's when I start to cry. Because I think the Guru forgot me, not giving me any challenges to overcome. We need the challenges, not all at once, but we feel, but the Gurus know better. They know what we can handle. And if we are having a dream that's not that sweet dream of contentment and paradise, the likelihood of our awakening is better, right? So we're not to question why it seems that our lives are so hard. According to Gurji, if we're already on the path towards truth, at least if our sincere desire is for self-realization, he said that planning that's going on is only planning to lift us up, to bring us closer to our goal. And that requires some trust in the teachings, some trust in the gurus. I'd always say, why would they come all the way from India to lie to us? Why would they give up lucrative careers, family life, to come all this way to tell us lies? That makes no sense. So unless they experience it directly, so that they know what bliss awaits us, what release, what end of suffering, they know. And they're determined to wake us up through any means they have. And that goes for everybody here. Dr. Sharma, who's one of the great scholars of the world, you'll notice in the next weeks that he's here, he comes to listen to these readings. Doesn't miss a program unless he has to. But we don't usually get scholars of that wisdom. They think that it's to be found only on the theoretical level. These are Vedantic teachings by an enlightened guru. Movement is the inherent nature of the body and the mind. You can stop the movement of the body for the time being, but you cannot stop the movement of your mind. Your mind is always somewhere else. It's never here for any length of time, never here except once in a while, for the time being. Even when you like something very much, your mind can still have a world tour at the same time. That's Gurji. He was always going on a world tour. And he would say when he was on the world tour, his mind was here. And when he was here, his mind was on a world tour, dreaming of the next tour he would be making to the countries where other disciples were waiting for him. But it's the nature of the mind to wander. Now, here's Gurji with the good news. That was not such good news, that the mind's nature is to be restless and in movement. Gurji says, if you meditate on the Absolute in the form of I am, and Gurji said to do that, you just have to go beyond the body, mind, and senses. You can have all these thoughts, let them go, let them come and let them go. You can have all these feelings, all these desires. If you don't dwell upon them, obsess about them, if you know they're only temporary, and so you're not that interested in them. You don't care so much about the mind's desires. If you just let them come and go, they begin to dissolve on their own. That's what's meant by being in bondage. The mind is in bondage. The body is in bondage because we're in a state of stress about its aging. The more we worry about the body aging, the more quickly it ages, because tension and stress, anxiety causes that. The more we just support it and help it when it's in difficulty, and then let it take care of itself when we've done all it could do, the more it heals itself. That's why the great gurus, who really don't reside in their body, they just take care of the body when it needs care, they live to 111, 127. We know that. We had a woman here, Dr. Kama, who was the first woman judge on this kind of the Supreme Court in India. And she came here and she told us a funny story when we asked her, Dr. Kama, did you know Sri Bhagavandas, Gurji's guru? She said, I certainly did. He's my guru. we said, you know, Gurji's been saying that he lived to over 120, maybe 123, 25, around that. Is that true? She said, I know it's true. I said, how do you know it's true? She said, well, I was a judge when they brought Sri Bhagavandas in for a speeding ticket. He was going, I don't know what, I forgot, but way over the speed limit as a driver, and I saw his driving license with his date of birth, and he was doing that over 120. So I said, what did you do? She said, well, I didn't give him a ticket. I just told him, for the sake of others, please do not drive Babaji. And he said, you are right. He said, because I did not know how fast I was going, I never looked at that panel. I just was driving. The Gurji had told us about the remarkable, well, the miracles that surrounded Sri Bhagavandas. But we never had proof until Dr. Kama arrived with that wonderful story. I don't know if he actually stopped driving, but that was the story. Most of them liked to drive. Swami Satchidananda loved. Swami Satchidananda was the first person to get a Thunderbird that I knew. Krishnamurti, his favorite car was a Rolls Royce, and then Osho decided to top Krishnamurti, Rajneesh, and he got 98 Rolls Royces. He drove a different one every day. People would give him their cars. But it had nothing to do with the usual reasons people liked expensive cars or lots of cars. It had to do with a kind of irony about our tendency to hoard and have desires for luxurious items. So Gurji is saying, if you meditate on the absolute in the form of I am, beyond the body and mind, then you can be in absolute beingness, which is beyond the beings and becomings of the body and mind. You transcend them. When you meditate on this principle of I am, then you can enjoy the beings. Then you can enjoy the beings and becomings. Right now, we're not enjoying the changes in our lives. We're not even enjoying the changes in our body because we're associating them with a diminishing of our ego, diminishing of our senses. Guruji said, that's very good when the body starts to lose its sway over us. And we don't have to pay so much attention and keep it hard by going to the gyms and wasting all that time. And we don't have to pay so much attention to memories because as we get closer to 60 and 70, the memories are going on their own. So let them go. Don't worry. The problem is when elderly people start to worry that they're losing their memory, when I want to lose my memory. I don't want those memories. I want to be here now because that's when I'm happiest. I came to notice that through the witnessing process. Because when we're witnessing, just open to what's around us, we cannot be judging, comparing, liking, disliking, worrying, hoping, because there's no entity there, there's no mind. If there are no memories, no ego, there's nothing there to worry. And that happens when we move more and more into the witnessing mode. If you practice that every day, just being available to where your attention is drawn from second to second, you will see that you will gradually be aware that the mind and those memories have less sway over you. How many of you understand that? Raise your hand. Good. Anybody not understand it? We don't have time to go over it. Send me an email. I say that with great trepidation because sometimes the emails are like this. And then I have to say, I think you better call me or come to the ashram, because sometimes the problem is huge, but the answer needs direct contact. It has to do with meditation always. And this is what Gurdjieff says towards the end of the statement. Again repeating, when you meditate on the principle of I am, then you can enjoy the changes going on around you because you're not affected by them. You can enjoy as if you were watching a wonderful film, a great drama that had humor, had pathos, it had compassion, it had sadness, it had joy. You come out and you say, wow, that was a great movie. I didn't even mind paying the extra money for that. That was great. But when our life is like that, full of pathos and compassion and sadness, for some reason we take that as real. And that's our problem. The world of beings and becoming, not real. Then we can enjoy it when we know that. Kalamala, is that clear? Because you're looking at me with that wise look. Anybody who wears a red dress and goes like this, you have to pay attention to. Kalamala's a designer and she's always in amazing clothing. You can enjoy the beings and becomings. And that's because every being and becoming, are you ready? You know why you can enjoy them? According to Gurdjieff, who was enlightened and knows, he said you can enjoy the beings and becomings, even the body getting older, because every being and becoming is only to entertain you. Don't you love him? Don't you love Gurdjieff? I mean, who looks at life that way? Every being and becoming is only to entertain you. And that includes your birth, death, calamity, and sickness, so on and so forth. If you don't identify with it, but see it as a temporary passing show that will keep repeating itself as long as you want it to. If you don't want it repeated, then we have to jump and identify with the principle of I am, rather than these beings and becomings. Gurdjieff ends this excerpt by saying, you cannot and body and mind. Don't try. Where's Subramanya? You heard that? We said the same thing this afternoon. You cannot stop them. So don't try to discipline yourself. They'll only get worse. You try to say to your ego, not now. The minute you say not now, it's like saying, ego, I do not want you to think of a white elephant right now. Never should have said that. It's the same as saying, I do not want any thinking right now, ego. You're saying die, ego. Ego doesn't want to die. But if you let it continue and you don't pay attention to it, you don't care if it continues or stops, gradually it will get tired and wait until you're not so wise to bother you again. You cannot stop. That's so important. You cannot stop the beings and becomings, the changes, the wanting more, the desires. You cannot stop the beings and becomings of your body and mind, but by means of meditation, even by means of the witnessing process, you can go beyond them, because the principle of I am is neither this nor that. It's not the beginnings, it's not the becomings, it's not the beingness. It is beyond every type of being and becoming. And that's what we are. We are not this body, we're not this mind, we're not these senses, because they're always changing. Self-realization means to discover the real I, which is unchanging, beyond the beings and becomings. I am not so foolish as to ask how many of you understood that, because we can only understand that at the very edge of our mind. The mind is simply not capable of really fully understanding it. But if you got a little good feeling listening to this, if it kind of made you happy and you don't know why, because you didn't quite understand it, that means it's something you know already. It's just a reminder of what we know. What we know has always made us very happy. Know means of the highest truths, of those truths that will free us ultimately. We know, but we have forgotten. We get caught in personal attachments to our parents, to our children. We get caught in attachments and aversions, and those are beings and becomings. You know that. You certainly know that the attachments come and go. They have to do with how much we obsess about them. The attachments and the aversions. It's up to us. If you want to be free of them, you know what to do. Meditate beyond the body, mind, and senses. Gurdjieff didn't say it in this paper, but he said, if you have any questions in other papers, he said, if you have any questions, please consult the author. That means ask in meditation. Okay. Ordinarily, I say we can open this to discussion, but I really want to finish in less than 10 minutes, and I don't think I can do it, but I can at least give you the first story that is a Taoist story entitled The Zen Master and the Thief. It's a parable of forgiveness. We don't know it, but two of our greatest issues are gratefulness and forgiveness. If we can understand both and apply both in our lives, we're this close to being totally free of the darkness that surrounds us in the form of ignorance. I'm going to read this just through as much as I can. The Zen Master and the Thief, and it's our story, a parable of forgiveness. When Bankei held his seclusion weeks of meditation, pupils from many parts of Japan came to attend. During one of these gatherings, a pupil was caught stealing. This has happened many times at our ashram, and we dealt with it in kind of a similar way. The matter was reported to Bankei with the request that the culprit be expelled. Bankei, the Zen master, ignored the case. Later, the pupil was caught in a similar act, and again, Bankei disregarded the matter. This angered the other pupils, who drew up a petition asking for the dismissal of the thief, stating that otherwise they would leave in a body. When Bankei read the petition, he called everyone before him, and he said to them, "You are wise brothers. You know what is right and what is not right. So it's all right for you to go somewhere else to study, if you wish. But you see, this poor fellow, this poor brother, does not know right from wrong. So who will teach him if I do not? No, I'm going to keep him here, even if all the rest of you leave." At that moment, a torrent of tears came down the face of the brother who had stolen, and all desire to steal had vanished. This is Osho's commentary. The story takes place in a meditation center, what they call a meditation session. So you have to understand, first of all, what meditation is. For unless you understand what meditation is, you won't understand the rest of the story. The words were, pupils from many parts of Japan came to attend. During one of these gatherings, a pupil was caught stealing. These stories are not ordinary stories. They need a great background. Those pupils are everywhere because man is so money-minded. And don't think that the one who was stealing was very different from those from whom he was stealing. They're all in the same boat. Both are money-minded, the thief and the ones from whom he's stealing. One has the money, one does not have the money. That's the only difference. But both are money-minded. The matter was reported to Bankei with the request that the culprit be expelled. Bankei ignored the case. Now, why did he ignore the case? He ignored the case because he knew that both were money-minded. He knew that both the group complaining and the thief, both were thieves. One thief trying to take things away from another thief, that's all. In this world, if you hoard something, you become a thief. If you have something, you become a thief. Sorry, but I have to tell. One time, Gurji asked for all of us to donate money. I forgot what for. He was always asking us to donate money. He knew we didn't have much, but he wanted us to give for his reasons. So some of us at the time had more money than others. And when they heard that one of us had donated a large check for $1,000 or $2,000, whatever, everybody would applaud. Gurji would announce it, and everybody would applaud. And he said he's doing that to encourage other big donations. But at the time that everybody was complimenting, he said, I wish to compliment also. I wish to thank you for knowing enough to return the money that I put in your bank. And it took all the enjoyment out of that. Gurji was saying that in some mysterious way, he had arranged for certain blessings, certain inheritances, whatever it was that had come unexpectedly. It was to teach us the lesson of not hoarding. And then, when we were feeling a little puffed up about it, he said, that money was given to you by nature. You're just returning it back to nature. But at least you knew to do that. Thank you very much. But it's not your money. That's the kind of master we had. We had to learn very quickly. There are two kinds of thieves in the world. One group, respectable thieves, recognized by the state, sanctioned by the state, registered, licensed by the state, and another, unlicensed people doing it on their own, illegal stealing and legal stealing. The legal ones are the respected ones. The illegal ones, of course, are not respected because they go against the rules. Those people who are clever never go against the rules. They find ways to steal by getting around the rules. But there are a few people who are not so clever. Seeing that if they follow these rules, they will never have anything, they drop the rules and start doing illegal things. But please know, everybody is money crazy. That's why Bankei ignored the case. And then it says, later the pupil was caught in a similar act, and again, Bankei disregarded the matter. He knows that both are in the same boat. There's not much difference. Once a politician is deposed, once the power is gone, once the power is no longer there to protect you, then everything is exposed about that politician. If you know how a person has become rich, you won't be able to respect him any longer. But if the person is really rich, he can manage to keep people quiet. And then people have a very short memory. They forgot how the money came into the hands of their benefactor. I was reading in some history book that 20 persons were expelled from England. They were sea pirates. Now we know that's still going on. Do you know what happened after 30 years to those sea pirates? Of all those 20 persons, a few of them went to Australia, a few of them went to America, a few of them became governors in America, a few of them became bankers, landlords. But I can tell you, according to that history book, all 20 became very respectable people. That's why Bankei ignored the situation. He just didn't pay any attention. He didn't take any note of it. He said, it's okay. This is how things go in the world. One who is not money-minded will simply ignore that incident. But this angered the other pupils who drew up a petition asking for the dismissal of the thief, stating that otherwise they would leave in a body. These people were not there to meditate at all, apparently. If you come to meditate, you understand a few requirements. You understand that if you're there to meditate, you have to become less, grow less into money-mindedness, that you have to attain a certain detachment from all your possessions, that it does not matter much that somebody has stolen a few rupees. It doesn't matter much that it's not such a life and death affair. That you have to understand. You have to know how the mind functions, how ordinary people are money-minded. Let's see, I want to see if there's such a good story. When Bankei had read the petition, he called everyone before him. He said, you are wise, so you know what is right and what is wrong. You can go elsewhere and study, you'll be fine. But this poor brother does not know right from wrong. Who will teach him if I don't? I'm going to keep him here. This is important, that's why I wanted to skip. Osho says many things have to be understood here. When the master says, you are wise brothers, he's really making fun of them, ridiculing them. He's simply hitting them hard. He's not saying they are wise. He's saying they're utter fools. But all fools think themselves wise. In fact, to think oneself wise is one of the basic requirements of being a fool. Wise people think they are not wise. Foolish people always think they are wise. These are all fools. They were not there to possess money. They were not there to get money. They were there to get something greater, something far higher, the beings and the becomings again. It's the same message. But they have forgotten all about it. In fact, this man has given them an opportunity to see. If they were real meditators, they would have gone to this man and thanked him. This is the reason I'm reading this story. They would have said, thank you for have given us an opportunity to see how much we're still clinging to money. How much you have disturbed us. We never thought we could be disturbed so much by such a small thing. We have completely forgotten all about meditation. We have forgotten for what we have come. We have forgotten even our master, Bankei. I have to stop here. But I don't mean to dangle a carrot in front of your nose, but I will go on next Saturday. If you cannot come, the book is called Compassion. It's an Osho book, And you can find the story on page 62. So it's one of the fine books of Osho. Ordinarily, I would go into a little dialogue with you, but you're so wise, you don't need it. Oh, but you'll enjoy. After this kind of program, you enjoy more beautiful dancing and wonderful music because you're wide open now. Your cells have begun to dance even before you see the dance. Right, Elizabeth Romero? Because you're looking so happy. It's true, it warms us up for something beautiful. Anyway, thank you for listening to that because it's a very profound story and has meaning for everyone, including myself. Please close your eyes just for a moment. We have 1 minute for meditation, and then we'll move to the blue sky. Take a deep breath, breathe in deeply. Hold the breath for 2 seconds, and then release, feeling that you're releasing all the language, all the memories, all the beings and becomings. And be here, now, in this sacred place of Gurji's great gift to us, Ananda Ashram. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Krishna Devi, would you lead us in our traditional prayer, and then we'll leave. Mata Chavita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhus Trasaka Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.